The sun was setting when Ariv walked into the small, quiet village that sat on the edge of a vast, ancient forest. His steps were slow, almost cautious, as if every movement carried the weight of an entire life behind it. His clothes were worn and dusty, showing miles of travel. His eyes looked sharp, but there was something tired, something broken deep within them. He didn't speak much when someone greeted him. He simply nodded, responding with short, polite words. But even those words sounded heavy, like they had to be pushed out from somewhere deep inside. The villagers noticed. They watched him with curiosity and a hint of fear. There was something unsettling about him, not threatening, but unresolved, as if he carried shadows that followed him everywhere. On his back hung a small wooden box, tied tightly with an old cloth. It wasn't large, but the way he carried it made it seem much heavier than it looked. Every time the box shifted, Ariv's hand moved to steady it immediately, like it held something much more precious than its simple appearance suggested. That box was his gold, the last thing he had left from his old life. A life he never wanted to think about again. A life full of betrayal, loss, and the kind of pain that doesn't heal even when years pass. Ariv had once trusted people. He had once loved deeply. But that was before someone close to him broke that trust and left him standing in the ruins of everything he valued. After that, he ran. He kept running, moving from town to town, hiding from memories that followed him like ghosts. Now, after months of wandering, he had reached this village, the closest one to the forest everyone spoke about in hushed tones. The forest was known for its size, its age, and its strange stories. Some called it alive. Some said it listened. Some claimed it took things from people, things that couldn't be taken back. Ariv didn't care about the stories. He didn't believe in curses or spirits. He believed only in survival. He believed only in himself. And he believed the safest place to hide his gold was deep inside that forest. As evening settled, the wind blew softly, making the tall trees sway. The branches moved like slow arms waving, and their shadows stretched across the ground as if trying to touch anyone who passed. The forest whispered, not in words, but in sounds that made the skin crawl in a way no normal breeze should. Ariv looked toward the dark tree line. Something in the air felt different, almost alive. But he didn't look away. The forest didn't scare him. Nothing scared him anymore. Pain had already taken everything from him. There was nothing left to lose. The villagers stayed at a distance, whispering among themselves. Who is he? He doesn't look like someone at peace. He carries something dangerous. I can feel it. Ariv ignored them. He simply walked toward a small hut a villager offered him for the night. He placed the wooden box carefully beside him, rested his head against the wall, and closed his eyes. But sleep did not come easily. The forest whispered again, softly, almost calling him. Ariv tightened his grip on the box. He didn't know it yet, but the moment he stepped into this village, the forest had already sensed him. And soon, it would take what it wanted. The next morning, Ariv walked through the village to gather supplies. He needed food, water, rope, and a tool to dig. He planned to leave for the forest before noon, hoping to bury the box before nightfall. But everywhere he went, villagers kept warning him. Stay away from that forest, an old woman said, her voice trembling. It does not give back what it takes. He simply nodded and walked past her. A group of farmers whispered behind him. That forest swallowed my uncle, one said. He went in with greed in his eyes. They say the trees took his name. Ariv frowned slightly. Took his name. The farmer shivered. People who go in with a selfish heart, the forest changes them. When they return, if they return, they are empty, like their identity has been eaten. Ariv didn't respond. He had heard stranger stories in his travels. None of them ever changed his decisions. Another villager approached him with a serious face. We don't lie about this. The forest listens. It watches. And it remembers every person who enters it. Ariv gave a tired smile. I'm just passing through. The villager shook his head. No one who says that ever just passes through. Ariv walked away from them all. He didn't want to hear more stories. They only made him impatient. But something strange did happen as he walked. Whenever Ariv passed by a tree near the village's edge, the branches seemed to shift, not with the wind, but toward him, as if reaching, as if sensing something he carried. A shadow on the ground stretched longer than it should have, moving slightly behind him before returning to its normal shape. He stopped walking. The air felt thick. The forest felt aware. But he brushed it off. He had lived through real danger. Men with weapons, betrayal, the death of someone he loved. Shadows and wind meant nothing to him. Still, he could not deny one thing. The forest felt like it was watching him. As he returned to his hut, he felt whispers behind him. Soft, low sounds that didn't come from any person. He turned quickly, but no one was there. Only the trees. Only the wind. Only the forest. Inside the hut, he set his supplies down and picked up the wooden box. He opened it slightly and looked at the gold inside. Its shine reflected his tired eyes. "This is all I have left," he whispered to himself. He was not greedy. He was desperate. That gold meant survival. It meant a chance to start again, somewhere far away. Somewhere peaceful. Somewhere the past could not follow him. He wrapped the box tightly, tied it to his back, and prepared to leave. But as he stepped outside, a chill ran down his spine, not fear but instinct. A feeling that something was shifting around him. A sense that the forest already knew he was coming. A young girl standing nearby stared at him and said, "If you go inside, don't let it hear your fear." Arav raised an eyebrow. "Why?" She looked down. "Because fear is food for it." He walked away without answering, but her words lingered in his mind longer than he expected. When he reached the edge of the forest, the air grew colder. The trees stood tall, like silent guards. The shadows under them seemed deeper than natural, like they hid something unknown. Arav took a breath. "I don't believe in curses," he muttered. But as he took his first step inside, the wind stopped. The birds fell silent, and the forest exhaled, slowly, deeply, like something alive had awakened. He felt the ground tremble slightly beneath his feet. For the first time, Ariv wondered if the villagers' warnings were not just fear, but truth. Ariv walked deeper and deeper into the forest. The tall trees formed a roof over his head, blocking the sunlight. Their branches twisted like long fingers, and the leaves rustled even when the air was still. The deeper he went, the quieter it became. No birds, no wind, only the sound of his own footsteps. He noticed something strange. Every time he looked behind him, the path seemed different. Trees that were on his left earlier were now on his right. A rock he passed once appeared again in front of him, but he forced himself to ignore it. He had come with a purpose. After walking for nearly an hour, he found a secluded spot. A large, old tree stood there, its roots thick and twisted like ancient veins. The ground beneath it was soft, almost too soft, like it had been disturbed before. "This will do," he whispered to himself. He placed the box on the ground and began digging with the small shovel he brought. Every strike of the shovel felt strange, like the earth was resisting him. The soil was damp and cold. At times, it almost felt like the ground pulsed gently under his hands, as if it were breathing. He paused, catching his breath. "Just my imagination," he muttered. After a while, he dug a deep enough pit. He picked up the wooden box and held it for a moment, staring at it. This box carried the memories of his past, the good ones and the painful ones. But more than anything, it carried the weight of his fear. Fear that someone would take it. Fear that he had nothing left without it. Fear that he would never be safe. He slowly placed it in the hole. As soon as the box touched the ground, a cold shiver ran up his spine. The tree above him creaked loudly, even though there was no wind. He started covering the box with soil. But halfway through, something happened. He felt a sudden pull, not physical, but inside him, like something tugged at his name, at his identity, as if an invisible hand reached through the air and grabbed something deep inside him. Arav froze. "What was that?" he whispered. The forest around him seemed to lean closer. The shadows thickened. The air grew colder. The ground under his feet felt strangely warm, almost alive. He quickly covered the rest of the hole and stepped back. But as he stood up, he felt it again, this time stronger. A pull on his name, not on his body, not on his memories, on his name. It was the strangest feeling he had ever experienced, like something had whispered it and pulled it away a little. He shook his head. No, I'm imagining things. He turned to leave, but when he took the first step, the path had changed. The trees had shifted. The rocks were gone. The forest looked different. He walked forward, but after a few minutes, he realized he was moving in circles. The same tree appeared again, the same roots, the same patch of ground. The forest was playing with him. Ariv's heartbeat quickened. He wasn't scared, but he felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt watched. He tried again, and again. Every time, the forest twisted the path back to where he buried the gold. It was almost as if it didn't want him to leave. The forest had taken something from him, and it wasn't ready to let him go. Ariv eventually made it out of the forest, but he didn't understand how. One moment he was circling the same spot. The next, the trees parted, forming a narrow path that led him back to the village. It felt intentional, like the forest allowed him to leave. But something inside him fell off. At first, he ignored it. He returned to his hut, washed his face, and tried to rest. But as the hours passed, the unsettling feeling grew stronger. That evening, he tried to remember something simple, his birthday. He knew it was important. He knew he used to celebrate it. But when he tried to recall the date, there was nothing, a blank space. No, he whispered. I'm just tired. He tried to think of his childhood home, the color of the walls, the smell of his mother's cooking. Anything. Again, nothing. He pressed his hands against his head, tried to force the memories out, but the more he tried, the more he felt them slipping away like sand falling through his fingers. He stepped outside and walked toward a group of villagers gathered near a fire. One of them looked at him and asked, "Who are you, stranger? I don't remember seeing you before." Ariv froze. They had met yesterday. He had spoken to them. They had warned him about the forest. But now, they didn't remember his name. They didn't even recognize him. He forced a smile. I'm Ariv." The villager frowned. "If you say so." Ariv walked away quickly, his heart pounding. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard whispers. Soft at first. Faint. Like voices calling from far away. "Ariv, Ariv." He opened his eyes and sat up straight. But the whisper continued. A cold wind blew through the hut, even though the windows were shut. The shadows in the corners stretched longer than they should have. The wooden walls creaked as if something pressed against them from outside. He covered his ears, but the whispers didn't stop. They grew louder. "Ariv, come back." He stood up and backed into a corner. No, I buried it. You have what you wanted." But the forest didn't agree. That night he dreamed. He saw the buried box underground. But it wasn't still. Roots had wrapped around it. Thin roots, thick roots, tangled like veins crawling over the wood. The box pulsed like a beating heart. The roots tightened around it, pulling it deeper into the earth. Ariv tried to shout in the dream, but his voice didn't come out. Instead, the forest whispered again. "Your gold is ours. Your name is next." He woke up drenched in sweat, gasping for air. His hands trembled. His whole body felt weak, as if something had drained the strength out of him. He stepped outside. The villagers passed by, but none looked at him. None greeted him. None recognized him. One woman stared at him for a long moment, then shook her head. "Stranger," she muttered. "I don't know why your face feels familiar." Ariv felt a sharp pain in his chest. The forest hadn't taken his gold. It was taking him, piece by piece, memory by memory, name by name. That night, he heard the forest again, not soft this time, but strong, calling him, pulling him, claiming what he owed. He knew the truth now. By entering the forest with fear and desperation, he hadn't buried his gold. He had buried himself. Ariv spent the next morning wandering through the village, hoping someone would help him or at least acknowledge him. But everyone looked through him like he was a shadow. Everyone except one. A woman with long dark hair and calm eyes stepped out from a small hut, holding a small clay pot filled with herbs. She saw Ariv and froze, not in fear, but in recognition. "Ariv," she whispered. He turned quickly. You know my name?" She nodded slowly. "It's faint, but yes. I remember." He walked toward her, desperate. "Please. Everyone else has forgotten me. I I don't know what's happening. She motioned him inside her hut. Come, quickly, before the forest listens. Inside, the air smelled of herbs, smoke, and something warm and comforting. She set the pot down and looked at him with sad eyes. My name is Mira, she said softly. I am a healer. My family has lived here for generations. We know things others have forgotten. Ariv swallowed hard. Then tell me, what's happening to me? Mira studied his face, then spoke slowly. The forest has taken your name. A chill ran through him. Why? I buried the gold. I didn't harm anything. I just wanted to hide it. Mira shook her head gently. The forest is ancient, older than any story you've heard. It doesn't want gold. It wants what lies behind the gold. What do you mean? She stepped closer, her voice low. When someone enters the forest with fear, guilt, or greed, the forest feels it. It feeds on it. The more you try to hide your darkness, the more the forest reaches for you. Ariv felt his stomach tighten. I wasn't greedy. I was only trying to protect what's mine. Mira touched the side of his arm. I know, you're not a bad man, but you carried fear inside you and guilt you've never faced. And the forest felt it. Ariv looked down at his hands. So now it's taken my name? Yes, she whispered. Names hold power. When the forest eats a name, it eats a person's identity, their memories, their connections, their purpose. Ariv's voice cracked. I'm disappearing. Not yet, Mira said firmly. I still remember you. That means there is time. He looked up at her, desperation in his eyes. What do I do? You must face what you buried. Not the gold, but the past you tied to it. Tears filled Ariv's eyes, though he tried to hold them back. I lost everything. Someone I loved died because of me. Someone I trusted betrayed me. And I ran. I never stopped running. Mira placed her hand on his. The forest saw that fear inside you. It wants to strip you of everything until only truth is left. He shook his head. I can't lose my name. I can't lose myself. Mira tightened her grip. You won't. Not if we go back together. Ariv looked into her steady eyes. She was not afraid. She was the only one who still remembered him. The only anchor he had left. And deep inside, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Ariv and Mira stood at the edge of the forest as the sun dipped behind the trees. The shadows stretched long and dark, making the forest look like a giant mouth waiting to swallow them. Mira held a small pouch of herbs in one hand and a carved wooden charm in the other. Keep this close, she said. It may help the forest see your truth. Ariv nodded, though his hands shook slightly. He wasn't afraid of the dark, the forest, or the stories. He was afraid of losing himself completely. They stepped inside. The moment they crossed the invisible boundary, the air changed. The forest closed around them like a heavy curtain. The temperature dropped. The ground felt softer, almost like skin instead of soil. The trees leaned in closer than before. Mira whispered, stay close. And keep your mind calm. Ariv tried, but something inside him felt like it was unraveling. As they walked deeper, he suddenly paused. Mira, he said, confused. What was my mother's name? Mira turned to him, her face tightening. You don't remember? He shook his head slowly. I know I had a mother, but her name, I can't reach it. Mira grabbed his arm firmly. Ariv, listen to me. The forest is trying to erase your past. You must fight it. They walked further. The deeper they went, the more the forest changed. The trees twisted into strange shapes. The ground rose and fell gently like the breathing chest of a giant creature. The air vibrated with a low hum, as if hundreds of whispers blended together. Ariv stumbled once. He felt dizzy. Mira, why did we come here again? Mira panicked. Ariv, don't forget. We came to take back your name. He paused, blinking slowly. My name. Mira put her hand on his cheek. Ariv, look at me. You know me. Focus. He stared into her eyes. Something flickered in his memory. Her voice, her calmness. The way she said his name when no one else remembered it. Yes, you're Mira. She exhaled. Good. Remember that. But the forest wasn't done. As they approached the clearing where the gold was buried, Ariv suddenly stopped again, looking lost. Oh, who are you? He asked Mira quietly. Her eyes widened with fear. Ariv, it's me. Mira, the one who remembers you, the one helping you. I, I don't understand, he whispered. Why are we here? Mira felt tears forming but forced herself to stay firm. Because the forest is trying to erase you. But you must not let it. Arv shook his head slowly. Everything feels far away, like I'm walking through smoke. Mira took a deep breath. She held his hand tightly. Then hold on to me. Hold on as hard as you can. Arv squeezed her hand, and for a moment, just a moment, he felt grounded. Together, they walked into the heart of the forest, toward the spot where he had buried his gold. But what awaited them was nothing like what Arv had left behind. When they reached the clearing, Mira gasped, and Arv froze. The ground where he had buried his gold had changed completely. The soil was cracked open, lifted by thick, dark roots twisting upward like giant snakes. The roots were wrapped around something deep beneath the ground, pulsing, glowing faintly like a beating heart. The gold. Except it wasn't gold anymore. It was covered in roots, veins, and dark soil. It throbbed like something alive, like something feeding. Arv felt his chest tighten as the forest whispered all around him. Arv, Arv, give us what you hide. Mira grabbed his arm. Don't listen. It's feeding on your name, your memories, your pain. Arv stepped closer despite her warning. The roots trembled, sensing him. Shadows swirled on the ground. The forest seemed to bend toward him. You cannot take it back, the whisper said. You brought fear. You brought guilt. We take what you tried to bury. Arv fell to his knees, overwhelmed. His thoughts blurred. His memories twisted. He felt his identity slipping away piece by piece. His mother's face disappeared. His childhood faded. Mira's voice grew faint. The forest pressed in. It wanted to swallow him whole. Arv, fight. Mira cried, grabbing his shoulders. You're still here. Your name still lives. I remember you. Hold on. But the forest roared. A deep, echoing sound that shook the ground. The roots surged upward toward Arv. The forest wanted the last pieces of him. Arv clutched his head as memories swirled chaotically. The forest whispered louder and louder, trying to break him. Mira held him tightly. Arv, listen to me. The forest doesn't want your gold. It wants your pain. It wants the memories you refuse to face. Arv trembled. I can't remember anything. It's all slipping away. Arv, Mira said gently, placing her forehead against his. The only way to stop it is to let go. Not of your name, of your guilt. Arv took a shaky breath. But if I let go, who will I be? Someone free, she whispered. The forest whispered again. Give us the pain. Give us the darkness. Give us the memories you hide. Arv suddenly saw flashes. A woman he loved smiling at him. Then screaming. Then silence. His friend, the one he trusted, standing over her body. Arv running. He collapsed to the ground. All my life, he whispered, I've carried these memories like chains. I thought if I held on to the gold, I could start again. But I never faced the truth. Mira touched his face. Then face it now. Let the forest take what no longer belongs to you. Tears fell down Arv's cheeks. He closed his eyes, and he let the memories come. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the guilt, the fear. He didn't run from them this time. He didn't fight them. He let them rise. The forest trembled. The roots pulsed faster. The heart-like bundle of gold shook violently. Then Arv exhaled, a long, deep breath he felt in his soul. I release it, he whispered. The forest froze. The roots recoiled. The pulsing stopped. The air became still. Mira held him as the forest roared, a sound not of hunger now, but of release. Slowly, the darkness around Arv lifted. The roots loosened their grip on the earth. The whispers faded. Then, as if giving something back, the forest breathed his name. Arv, softly, gently, like a mother calling a child home. The forest didn't give back the gold, but it returned something far more important. His identity, his name, his self. Arv opened his eyes, clearer than before. Mira smiled, tears in her eyes. You're back. He whispered, yes. I am. Arv and Mira walked out of the forest together. The air grew warmer. The shadows softened. The trees straightened again. When they reached the village, something strange happened. People looked at him, really looked at him. A woman smiled slightly. Ariv, right? You came yesterday. Ariv felt a wave of relief wash over him. They remembered him. His name had returned to the world. For the first time in years, he felt lighter, as if the forest had taken not just his pain, but the weight he carried inside for so long. The gold was gone, but Ariv didn't care. For the first time, he realized it had never brought him peace. It had been a burden, a reminder of everything he lost. Mira walked beside him, her presence steady and warm. So, what will you do now? Ariv looked at the village, the quiet homes, the peaceful fields, the forest standing silently behind him. I think, he said softly, I'll stop running. Mira smiled gently. A new beginning? Yes, he said. A real one. The villagers welcomed him slowly, offering him work, food, and company. Day by day, Ariv rebuilt his life. Not with gold, not with fear, but with truth. The forest remained behind the village, silent and ancient. It had taken his gold. It had consumed his grief. But it returned his name. Some nights, Ariv stood at the forest's edge with Mira beside him. The trees swayed softly, whispering in a calm voice. He no longer feared it. He no longer feared his past. He no longer feared himself. He was reborn, and the forest watched quietly, waiting, listening, guarding the secrets of those who entered with heavy hearts, watching for the next soul who came with too much buried inside.